Let's do this.
Oh, yeah.
Let's do
You're
it.
getting
God! Joining me on the line as he does every Friday on the show, ladies and gentlemen, Mike Reyes is on the line to talk about movies. He's from CinemaBlend, believe it or not. Hey, buddy, what's going on?
Oh, not much. I mean, happy first day after Batman to you, my friend, as you celebrate. Glorious, glorious day.
And to you, as we Lutherans would say.
Big times, man. Big times.
All right, let's get to it. That is the big movie this weekend. The Batman hits theaters. It's like 3 hours long. A lot of big stars in this. It looks dark and crazy. And what did you think? Was it good?
I love this movie.
Oh, we're using the bleep button fairly early this time.
Fairly early because it deserves it. And strangely enough, the Batman uses its one F-bomb pretty early too.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
Yeah, like I was really surprised because just like in the middle of a crime scene, the commissioner at the time looks at Batman and he's like, "Oh, you people must love this time of year. Happy Halloween."
So tell us about this movie. Like I said, it's 3 hours long. It's got some interesting casting in it. You know, if everybody thought the Heath Ledger Joker was interesting, I would say people have a lot more to talk about in this one. Is that fair to say with some of their casting?
Yes, and I would say all good because Matt Reeves, the man who gave us the revived Planet of the Apes movies, as well as Cloverfield, was given the opportunity to make a Batman. And I love the story that he's told in interviews recently. They pitched him on taking over Ben Affleck's original pitch to do a solo movie, like his script.
Okay.
And he's like, he didn't want to do that. And he's like, look, I don't know how I would make that movie. I'm not making that movie. He was trying to use like the Planet of the Apes because he was finishing the last one. He was using it as an excuse that he couldn't do the movie because he's like, look, I would have to show you guys what I would want to do. I don't have the time right now. Okay. And then Warner Brothers was just like, okay, we're going to wait because we want to see what you would do. Apparently what Matt Reeves would do is cast Robert Pattinson as a complex and brooding Bruce Wayne Batman combo. Zoe Kravitz is probably the coolest Batwoman. No, not Batwoman. Catwoman we've had in a while because they do a lot of really cool stuff for her arc and she gets to be fully fleshed out and formed. And then in terms of villains, Paul Dano is so chilling as the Riddler. And I love how they've grounded him in like the Zodiac mystique. And Colin Farrell threatens to steal this damn movie as the Penguin because he is just so perfect. Like there is no person in this movie that hits a false note or was incorrectly chosen. And Andy Serkis is Alfred. I am so proud that they've got him as Alfred and then Jeffrey Wright as Detective Gordon, not Commissioner just yet.
Yeah, because this is year 2 of his Batman career, right?
And yes, and that is part of what I love about this. Year 2 is such an interesting place to go because we know what happened to the Wayne. It's changed in the movie, but we don't have to see. There's all of the backstory that's explained about the Waynes versus seeing the moment works so much better. And again, this is 5 minutes short of 3 hours. There is enough action that it's exciting, but there is so much time being taken and character building and threads that'll be followed in the future if there is a future. And I'm thinking there will be, considering we're looking at a potential, they were saying anywhere between 100 and 185 million, because originally they were saying 135 to 185 for domestic.
Okay.
And then I think revised estimates might have said just 100. But either way, I think domestically the number to beat is 122 to beat No Way Home. And then 260 is the worldwide because that's like the second highest opening weekend. And I think it's worth it. I think people need to get out there and see the Batman.
Saying it's worth it and thinking it's going to happen are two different things, though. Do you think it'll break those records?
I can't say with any certainty because anyone who thinks they have certainty in a pandemic box office is, I would like to sell you my Batman project. But I will say that the one certainty I will throw out is it is going to be big.
Okay.
How big or how long is something that is left to be seen. But it is obviously going to be a big deal. Like advanced ticket sales were already like maddening. Like I didn't go to the local multiplex to see it. I want to do a quick unsponsored plug for the Princeton Garden Theater in Princeton, New Jersey, because that's where I saw it. They're an indie international, like they do indies and international movies a lot, and they don't really do too many huge movies, but their programming director Chris Collier. I think he's a programming director. He basically did a thesis on Batman, and that was basically his impetus to bring it there. But also, AMC is labeling this as an artisan movie. And usually when they label artisan movies, it's like, again, indie or international film. And they have like this whole, he's the executive director of the Princeton Garden Theater.
Okay.
And there's this whole explanation of how like the Batman fits the mold of an artisan movie because of how it's made, I guess. Like, it's very much film noir meets grief meets horror movie, but it is a comic book movie, but it feels so much, it doesn't feel like one. It feels so much different. It feels, it's just special, and it's fantastic.
What's funny about it is I see the one trailer where you have Batman in his suit walking around all the cops, and I always think that looks funny for some reason. Like, it doesn't matter what the mood or tone of the movie is. It's like, hey, that guy's wearing a cape and a helmet.
Oh, that is really interesting how they how he interacts with the cop and how that sort of changes.
Okay.
So here's why. Go on.
Oh no, it's just a funny scene to me whenever they do anything like that. When it's like, here's, trying to be very serious, serious movie. Here's a guy in a cape walking around the cops.
That's ultimately the beauty of how Batman works at its best. If you can convince people that this guy wearing a suit if you convince people to take it that seriously, that's a trick. And I mean, here's why AMC says it's their artisan movie. The landmark franchise of the Cape Crusaders propelled to new territory using themes of film noir to unmask a fresh and effective detective story set in a corrupt underworld of Gotham City. Expressionistic camera work sets the tone, a captivating film score fills the mood, and an enticing color palette are employed as tools to enhance this daring and yet very suspenseful cinematic experience. And then they also mention, the cast and Paul Dano's Riddler. But yeah, that's people have been taking this really seriously, and it does remind me of when Dark Knight came out. And I'm going to say it because I'm officially going on record through a feature I'm writing, or I've written, because it should be out by time we air. This is better than The Dark Knight.
That's some big shoes to fill. Mike Reyes from CinemaBlend.com joining me on the line to talk about movies. All right, so go see The Batman this weekend. There was another movie out this weekend, correct?
Yes, this is a streaming movie going to Hulu, and it is called Fresh. And ooh, wow, this one gets interesting. And I'm not going to say too much about it because I think people need to go in as cold as possible. But it is about this young woman played by I'm trying to look up. Hold on for a minute.
Daisy Edgar Jones.
Yes, Daisy Edgar Jones from Hulu's Normal People. She's having problems with the dating scene. It's really being a pain in the ass.
Okay.
And then she meets this guy who's played by Sebastian Stan, the Winter Soldier himself. And, he's charming. They meet cute over grapes. They go for drinks. They really hit it off. And then things take a turn. And if you really want to watch the trailer, fine. Go watch the trailer. It doesn't spoil much, but it gives you more foundation as to what happened.
Okay.
And I think without that foundation, it would have hit harder for me because it takes a little while. The first half hour, just like a romantic comedy, and then like 33 minutes in, you get the credit. You get like the movie turns, and then the ride begins.
Okay, all right.
And Sebastian Stan's a lovable psycho, and I love him in this. Like, dude is having so much fun, and it makes me smile.
Between a movie like this and the Pam and Tommy stuff, he's done some interesting stuff lately.
He has, and I think that's the thing anyone that's in the Marvel universe really tries to do with their careers, because it really does feel hard when you do something like this for, X amount of years. And then either in between years, or if you just give it up altogether, it's like, okay, what do I do now? Like, how do I diversify the portfolio? And yeah, he's just, I really like him as an actor. And what's funny is I just watched Hot Tub Time Machine for the first time in the past couple of weeks. I watched both of them. And he's so good as the patriotic douche who's railing against the Russians. And I'm just thinking, wow, from that to Bucky. I love this.
All right, so check out Fresh on Hulu this weekend. Mike Reyes from CinemaBlend.com joining me on the line. Over in the world of movie news, and real quick before we get to the movie news part, just because I'm a huge Trekkie, I want to mention, and it's not really movie related, but Star Trek Picard Season 2 premiered last night. I'm going to tell you this right now, and I know you haven't seen a lot of the new Star Trek, but you are a Star Trek fan to some extent, right?
Yeah.
This is the first.
Where did you get that, sir?
Paramount Plus or whatever it's called, the app. I'm going to tell you right now, this is the first time I've ever had to rewatch something immediately after I watched it.
Ooh, I had an experience like that this week too, but I can't talk about it for another couple weeks.
Okay. It's really, really good. Like they talked about last season where Patrick Stewart was only going to do it if they did something different.
Yeah.
Right? It had to be different for him to come back, and they made something very different. It was kind of in the Star Trek world, and, you know, it had its ups and downs. It wasn't perfect by any stretch. But the little changes and tweaks they made and the way this season starts out, where it felt more like a world that an older Patrick Stewart, you know, Jean-Luc Picard is living in. And it's just it's so well done. The sets are so cool. They actually took the time to make more Federation ships than the one they made. There's a joke about the end of the first season where they have a big fleet. They just show it, you know, and it's all the same ship, just copied and pasted. It's all the exact same one, or there's like 3 variations of it. And this one, it's like, oh my God, I see. You know, you get the history, and they did it. They did enough. It's one of those times where they're furthering the story, but they're doing enough nostalgia to make you go, you know.
And I believe you mentioned that there is some history. We were talking about this off air.
Yeah.
I believe you mentioned history in terms of certain ships that we've seen for the first time.
Yeah. So I don't want to say too much, but for the first time, you get to see. I don't know if I want to.
We can just leave it at that if you don't want to spoil it.
Okay, I'll do a spoiler warning right now because this is, for Star Trek fans, this can be a big deal. So spoiler warning.
Season 2 started last night on Paramount Plus. Spoilers from this point.
Yes. So for the first time ever, you got to see the Sovereign class ship on TV, which you've never seen it before. The only time they've ever shown it on TV, Star Trek, is it was a model in the background of Star Trek or in the first season of Picard.
Yeah.
But you get to see it a couple times here. You get to see the first time ever on TV, the Luna-class ship, which people have seen it but with comics, and it was in Prodigy. Or not Prodigy, the Lower Decks, because what's his name? Jonathan Frakes is a part of that. He voiced Will Riker in it. But they had the live-action version of it on it. And there's a few other of the ships from Star Trek Online, which was really cool to see. But to see some of that stuff, it was like, oh, God, this looks so good. But it was really well.
Really pulling from the ranks.
What's that?
That's really pulling from the ranks, like Star Trek Online.
Yeah, there was a couple, and I can't remember because I haven't played Star Trek Online for a while. But there was a couple of the class ships that it was like, oh wow, that's crazy. You do get Q in the first episode, and I will say this: they did the de-aging thing as well as I've ever seen it done anywhere on him.
And that intrigues me. That really intrigues me.
There's a scene that you've already seen in the trailer that's it's tied into that. It's a little bit more to that. And it was just fun. It felt like Star Trek. It felt like an older. It just had a happier tone for what it was.
Because I know you're not really into Discovery.
Discovery isn't a bad show. It just doesn't feel like Star Trek.
Gotcha. Did we talk about Star Trek 4 on here?
We talked about it last week because we were both kind of
Gotcha.
We felt like it should have been done earlier. That maybe the time is kind of. We like the crew. We like the ship. We like a lot of it, but it feels like it may have been too long. So, but this was
what did
really.
Your buddy say?
No, this is just when we talked about Discovery, it's a very cool sci-fi show. It just doesn't always feel very Star Trek.
Oh, I got you. Yeah, that's that happens with a lot of franchises where it's just like, oh, it'd be great if it wasn't named X.
You know what a great example of it is is we've talked about it before. Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift. That if you hadn't have called it Fast and Furious and just called it Tokyo Drift, it would people probably would have gave it a better look.
I think I remember that, and I think I remember countering that because I do think that's like, I don't think that's the problem with Fast and Furious and Tokyo Drift. I think the problem is you decided to write your timeline in such a way that the characters have aged 20-something years, but they're still supposed to be 17.
Yeah, exactly. So, Mike Reyes from CinemaBlend.com listening to me talk about and gush over Star Trek Picard. It's really good. Like you,
and I'll talk back too. I really do want to start watching that. I need to. It's really funny. Quick thing. I need to renew my Paramount now because I signed up last year because it was like, hey, $50 for a whole year of ad free because we're just kicking things off. I was like, sure, I'll sign up for that. Barely used the thing.
Yeah.
And now, and there's so much I've been meaning to watch. Like I still haven't watched The Stand. I still haven't watched Picard or Lower Decks. I've been wanting to catch up on everything Star Trek, basically. And they've even got the original Mission Impossible series on there, which I wanted to watch.
Did you, you know what one you should add in because you like Westerns?
Yellowstone?
That and 1883.
Oh, I definitely have. I think I have both of them on the queue. I think Yellowstone's actually on Peacock because that was before Paramount actually had like.
Yeah, it is. My wife, who's at home, on maternity leave, she was like, I'm getting Peacock when we do this because her building, there's a lot of Office references and there's a lot of Parks and Rec references, and she's never watched either one.
I tried watching both of them, and I only got so far.
Parks and Rec, I don't mind. Office, I can see where people get really into The Office. It hasn't grabbed me yet on some of the episodes I've watched. Parks and Rec has some. I'm not going to say I'm like if I never watched another episode of it, I'm not going to complain. Like I wouldn't feel bad. But when it's on, I giggle at it. I think it's well written and stuff. I think it's got some funny parts. But anyways,
I mean, I can see why people like it. It's just between that sort of cult of appreciation, like, oh my God, you have to watch it. It's like, okay, I'll watch it at some point, I guess, to get the references.
Yeah, and that's what she wanted to do was be able to, and I was like, so you want to be, you're Captain America right now. I understand that reference.
Hello, fellow workers. That's what she said.
Exactly. But going back to the Picard, you know what else I thought was really cool about it?
What?
The sets, it looks like a movie.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's something you're definitely going to see in the streaming world now because they're really trying to, streaming is really trying to compete with the theatrical experience for hard-earned box office dollars. And not only with shows, but also with movies. I mean, that's probably a good segue into something else we're going to talk about in news. So I'll let you do the talking.
Oh, you know what? We can wrap up Picard there. It's really good. If you get a chance, watch it. I'm so stoked for it. Like I said, it's beautiful to look at. The new ship they show, which I don't want to tell you what it is, is fantastic. It's really well done. So Mike Reyes from CinemaBlend.com joining me on the line. What else from the world of streaming did you want to talk about?
Well, now that we've sort of mentioned it, there was a new trailer released today for Judd Apatow's big Netflix streaming movie called The Bubble. And what's interesting about this is a couple of days ago, Netflix released a trailer for a movie called Cliff Beast 6, The Battle for Everest, I think it's called. And people didn't know what to make of it. You know, you've got Pedro Pascal, Karen Gillan, David Duchovny, Keegan-Michael Key, Leslie Mann. Like, there's all-star cast in this. And people are like, wait, Cliff Beast 6? And then it didn't take too long for, I don't know what outlet did it, but like film journalists eventually caught on, and they're like, look, this is probably that Judd Apatow movie that they were talking about, because right from the beginning when he signed on for it, they said it was a movie about making a movie during COVID.
Oh, that's funny.
And it looks pretty hysterical. It also looks like it's Judd Apatow's like largest scale movie ever, because they're making a full blockbuster to make fun of full blockbusters. They've got like this all-star cast. It looks really good. I'm going to withhold judgment because I've been burned by Judd Apatow in the past. I still do not forgive him for what Funny People was. Because no, you should not be making a 3-hour comedy slash drama, and you're basically just making two movies in one. It's like, pick the movie you want to make. Adam Sandler's going to die or he's not going to die.
Yeah.
Although I did like the Dan Taylor joke.
I like the when I watched the trailer before we started talking, it's one of those movies where I'm like, okay, I think I'll like this, but like you kind of said, it might be a little much.
The big thing that this movie has going for it is this is very much a movie in my wheelhouse, due to the fact that I love movies that are dark, pointed comedies about making movies. Like State and Maine it might be obscure for some people, but I love State and Maine. If you're a big fan of Clark Gregg, Agent Coulson himself, he plays a smarmy jerk in there among a huge cast.
Okay.
Bowfinger is another one I love. Steve Martin and Eddie Murphy. I think movies about making movies and when making fun of it the right way are fun. But if you're too pointed and you're too, cutesy, it doesn't work. And I guess that's the same thing with any satire, but, not everybody can pull off gags like Team America where they make fun of actors.
Yeah, exactly. Mike Reyes from CinemaBlend.com joining me on the line. What else in movie news? Anything really?
Let's see. I'm going to rack the brain box here because, it's easy to write the news. It's not always easy to report the news. I mean, we are people, us journalists.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, unless you want to talk about Channing filming a nude scene.
No, it's okay.
Or Dax Shephard revealing he dated Ashley Olsen.
Wait, what?
I hooked you. Okay. So this came out of nowhere. He was doing Armchair Expert, his podcast. And towards the end, he and his co-host were talking about, like, somehow fashion came up and like the Olsen twins fashion line.
Okay.
And then he's like, and then he sort of segued in and he's like, I don't know if this is public record, but I dated Ashley Olsen. And it was like 15, 16 years ago they dated. And he said that not only is she just amazing when it comes to the fashion business and running that empire with her sister, but her and Mary Kate are both very funny and sarcastic. Apparently Ashley is a car enthusiast, and that was part of what they bonded over. And it was like, that was one of those things that you think most of the stuff that goes on in this business of show, and then something like that drops, and it's like, whoa! It's one of those things where you don't call it initially, but then, like you said, you think about it, it's like, oh, I can see that those personalities working together.
Dax Shephard is just an enigma wrapped in a mystery.
Partnered with Kristen Bell for life.
Yes, he is. All right, that's where we'll end it this week. Mike Reyes from CinemaBlend.com joining me on the line. You have a good weekend.
Love you around the corner. You have a good one, man.
There you go.